Hey Snacks! It's season 4 of Snack Size the podcast, and 2022 is all about you. And guess what? You are fabulous. It's time to open doors and embrace new opportunities. And your dreams can and will come true if you just take the time to pursue them. So this season is a cheers to you, finding your fabulous life. Our time together starts now. Hey Snacks! Welcome back to Snack Size. It is so good to be with you again. When I started this podcast, I always knew that I wanted to share stories about my journey and what I've been through in life, and what I didn't expect to find was a family of listeners that I could learn and grow with. So, as always, thank you for being on this journey with me, and this episode will be very special for me as it comes after one of the most difficult times in my life. So I wanted to take some time and say thank you for tuning in after I spent a little time away to figure things out for myself and my life and my mental health. And I have a very special guest, Brie Campo from Clever Conversations podcast is going to be talking with me today, and I'm so excited to invite her to her first time on Snack Size. She is an absolute hoot. I can't wait for you all to meet her. But before we get started, I just wanted to say that we're all going through things in life, and no matter what you're going through, no matter what your pain is, just by being here with me, that makes you a survivor. And if we can get through this, we can get through anything. So Snacks, let's give Brie a call. Hi Brie, welcome to Snack Size.
Hi, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you. I had such a good time on your show. When you had me as a guest, we had such good conversation. So I knew when I wanted to have someone sit down and interview me who I had to call. And thank you. Thank you so much for saying yes.
Wow. Like we did have a good time though. We really did. So I was like, yes. Of course I'll do it.
And so without further ado, I do want you to talk about your show and introduce yourself to the Snacks. Tell us about your podcast.
Well, it's called Clever Conversations, and I am the Clever Biotch. So I love to interview people and have just a whole array of different kinds of information for people because, you know, we all face all kinds of things that go on in our lives. And when life hits the fan, I mean, if you don't laugh, you're going to fall and not get up. So it's all about just living with all these different things that happen in our lives and the best way we can get through it with funny stories and just useful information and just having a lot of fun. You know, that's what it's all about, just having a good old time. That's one of my main gigs, though I do a million other little things. You know, I'm a social media manager, and which has turned into an actual business for me because of my podcast. So that was really exciting. And that keeps me very busy as well. So it's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts that I have to deal with all the time. You know,
I think you and I connected over the fact that we always got a lot going on. And I actually didn't know that you had a business until you sent me the bio. And I think that's so cool. Good for you.
Well, I didn't know I had a business either. Come on. I didn't know. Nobody told me. Like someone said, hey, we really like you to help us out with our social media. And I said, sure, I know a lot about it. I'd be happy to help you. And they actually paid me for it. So there you go. And then they sent me another person and then another person. And I signed my 5th client last week. So I think I have a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I remember the first time I got paid to do drag and I was like, and now I am a professional, and it's just such a great feeling.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Snacks, if you want to check out our episode on Clever Conversations, it is called Delicious Drag and So Much More with Lala, the Snack Luscious. It is season 2, episode 3. Please go check that out. It's a great interview. But now we're here and we're going to talk about why I've been gone for so long.
Yes.
Brie is going to help
Where
you with that.
Been? I know. And I have noticed that you were, I was like, oh, where have you been? Because I follow along, even though I can't get out. I'm always still working so much, so I haven't gotten down. Because if the listeners don't know, we actually live very close to each other. So,
yes.
And I missed you, and I was like, what's going on? And I did see posts. So I am so happy that we get to sit down and chat about this.
I definitely went through a hard time, but one thing that I really love about you and appreciate about you as an interviewer and as a person. You definitely know a lot about life. So this is going to be great. I'm really excited.
Well, honey, I've had a lot of years of life. That's why. All right.
Snack, the first time I'm in the hot seat. I'm going to be interviewed.
Pull up those big girl panties and let's go for a ride.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Well, we're going to start. I'm all about starting with the hard part. I mean, let's just go there. Like it was kind of abruptly that you took a few months away from your podcast and performing. So you have to fill us in. Tell us what happened.
Basically, in a span of 7 days, all of these different things happened. So I work in class action lawsuits during the day. I know that on your show, when I was on your show, we talked about all the things that I do, right? So I'm already a busy person.
Yes.
But actually, in addition to doing all these things, I do work a 40-hour-a-week job. And so with the pandemic, when like all of the stuff that was like on delay started coming through, like when I say my workload doubled, like it doubled. And then, as you know, I direct shows. So I had a show that kind of did not go very well. There was an issue with one of the performers not following COVID guidelines, and it was a stressful meet. Then I also got in a bad argument with my best friend, and I know that, you know, sometimes friends are your absolute support system. So while this was happening, we weren't talking. A different friend, one of my drag sisters in Indiana, her mother had been sick for a long time, and she did pass away. So while all this is going on, mind you all, sorry, I should say, this is the week before my book comes out, like the 7 days before my book comes out. So I'm already dealing with that. And I have to make this unplanned trip to Chicago. You know, I have a schedule. I have to clear it. I figured out, but I got to be there for my friend because that's what friends do. And I would not have been anywhere else. And it was very difficult to watch my friends say goodbye to their mom. But, you know, we got through that, and I came back, and my former partner said that they didn't know how to feel about us and they wanted to end things. So surprisingly, with all that, I had decided that I was fine. Because part of being, I'm sure you know what it's like to work hard and be a really, really, really driven person. And sometimes when you are a person that has to be a lot of places and do a lot of things, you don't have time to process what happened, right? So a couple days later, it was actually the morning of one of my very, very good friends and drag sister's wedding that I was in, and I was ironing, and I was like, you know, when you're ironing, it's kind of like a mindless job. So I just started thinking about everything that happened, and I had a panic attack, but it was more, I mean, honestly, I don't know if you've ever had one. It'll last for a few minutes, but I thought I was going to pass out, have a heart attack, and die. Like, I was like, this is the end.
Oh, yeah.
Life. Yeah.
Oh, I've been there. I know. Yeah. They are the worst thing in the world, and you think it is a heart attack. It is overwhelming. Yes, I have been there. I hear you on that one.
Honestly, what felt was just a few minutes changed my whole perspective on the outlook of my life and how I take care of myself mentally, and that's what honestly started this journey that I've been on to refine myself. You know, I feel like when everything crumbled, including my relationship, somewhere I lost myself. And that's very, very odd coming from a person who seems to know themselves very well in terms of their brand and stuff. But it happened. And so that's where we're at.
You didn't have time though. Look, I mean, and that happens a lot when you're a person that's driven, like, and we both are, and we constantly are busy and working. We don't know what it's like to really not to like slow down, and like they're like, oh, self-care. I'm like, I don't know what that is, because we're always working, we're always busy. We have a schedule and we have appointments and things are going on. And then all of a sudden this happens because you took a breath and you stopped and it all caught up with you. And that can be like that's life-changing when you have a panic attack like that and all this stuff.
I just remember like standing after I could get up, I definitely was on the floor for a little bit, but I stood up and I just started crying. And like, I called my friend. I was like, I don't know if I can make it to the wedding. I did make it because it was an evening wedding, and thank goodness for that. Otherwise, I don't know that it would have happened. But I was just like, I can't do anything. Like, I know that I need to do these things and people are accepting from me, but I was like, I just feel so broken. And I never felt that way. I felt so much that way. Obviously, you know, I've been through struggle in my life, but it was just something different. So it was time to take care of
and
it.
unexpected, and you had a lot going on, and that can change very instantly like that. And then you have to deal with it. Oh my God, you have all this stuff. And then this happens and you have to go through, you're at a wedding. You're still going through all this stuff.
Oh, girl, that was a whole mess.
Nuts.
I seriously, I think the photographer literally captured every single moment that I was not crying in a mess in that whole thing, because any other time, I was just, I just kept crying and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness, the flowers are so beautiful. You know, it did not take much to set me off at that wedding, but we got through it. And my friend was very understanding. So,
well, find that photographer and pay him extra. That's awesome. I mean, really, right?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes. So,
all right. That is an awful rough thing to go through. And it really changed things. So what parts of your outlook on life changed? What after that panic attack, what happened? What changed for you?
One of the things I think about is that when you're young or younger, you know, it's really easy to think that you have your whole life ahead of you. So in this life, you're kind of born, you grow up, you figure out what you want to do, and hopefully you go out and get it. And you meet people older than you, and they say things like, oh, you have a bright future. Oh, you have your whole life ahead of you. And you just believe them. And having this experience where instantly, my whole world came closing in on me, it became more real than I had ever felt in life, that those things aren't necessarily true. You don't know what time you have on this earth. If you had asked me in that moment, this is the end of my life. So there was a lot of feelings of how am I living? Am I truly doing everything I want to do? You know, I even had conversations with myself, if that had been the end, was I happy with the life that I lived? You know, and that's a lot of emotions to put through.
It is.
Yeah. I also was raised in a family where education and working hard will get you where you want to go. And while I'm not saying that isn't true, it's just not common that you grow up and you learn how to deal with difficult times. You know, you don't learn about the stages of grief right away, or how to regulate anxiety and emotions, or how to value yourself, or knowing who's good in your life and stuff like that. So you learn those things when they happen the first time. If there was a book titled What to Do When Work is Stressful, You're Not Talking to Your Best Friend, and your former partner wants to break up with you, I literally would have paid thousands for a copy. Okay.
Absolutely.
So definitely figuring out what to do from there. Cause you're sitting there and you've just had this complete breakdown, and it's where do I go? But one of the things I did realize, when you go through the breakup, it's you want answers, you need answers. Why wasn't I good enough? Why wasn't I worthy of this? And what did I do wrong? And I was so fixated for the first, a couple weeks on that type of closure. But then what I realized is that that's just avoiding a hard truth. The relationship's over. And in any situation, no outside source is going to give me closure. The thing about closure is that while you may want it, you technically don't actually need it to move on. And so I've discovered that all the answers were within myself. And the only thing I had control over was the steps that I do and the steps I take to mmove forward.
Wow. That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. Yeah, you don't need closure. It is. Oh, I'm wow. I'm sorry, but that listen, because just because I understand and I know what it's like to have that moment where you think that could be the end, and and it does make you reevaluate things, and having that kind of breakup. You question yourself, but then you get irrational too, right? Because we always are oh, if I'd only worn red more, if I, didn't eat all the chocolates from you know what I mean? There's irrational things that your mind will go through, when you're trying to deal with that.
Exactly.
And I'm really impressed that you were oh, hell no, I'm stopping right here. I'm not doing
there was a time. Yeah,
there
was a solid time where it was a struggle, but because I had that pressure, because I was gone, and during that time, people were still expecting things from me, and there was no warning. It just sort of happened. So I was like, whatever I can do to quickly get myself back up and running, like I need to do it. So
you don't want to put too much out there either, right? Because it's personal life, and you don't need to share every tidbit. Well, we kind of are, I guess, tonight. So.
I mean, I don't. Actually, we should talk about that. Somebody asked me, why would you put your life out there? And I'm going to tell you right now, the amount of pain that I went through, if I can save one person from having to go through, like even taking a fraction of it away, because I do feel that pain does have the power to grow joy. So I don't want to say that someone should never experience pain in their life, but if telling my story can help somebody with theirs and make it just the burden even just the tiniest bit easier, I know it's worth it, because it's not a good place to be in.
It is worth it. And I think your listeners care. And hi, listeners. I know that they care about you. I gotta say hi to them. I don't know if I said hi to them. I said hi to you, but I gotta say hi to them too. But they care, and they want to support you. And I think in the position that you're in, especially in the podcasting world, this is what I know, is that they respond and support when we are vulnerable and honest and tell our stories of the things that we have been through. Yeah. And you are doing that. And I think that connects with them. And it's really important. And like anyone listening, I want you to do a hell yes right now, because you're agreeing with me. So I'm right there with you. My hand is literally in the air right now. So I'm like, yes, this is what we're talking about. So I'm going to dig a little deeper. I know they want to hear more, so I'm going to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
What has your mental health journey been like? What has that been like for you?
Facing trauma is really, really scary. And in the past, what I've kind of done is I've thrown myself into my career or into whatever I have going on. And this time I didn't want to do that. I wanted to face my past so that ultimately I could have a better future. And one of my friends told me, they're like, most people would just find somebody else. They would just move on and find somebody else. And I was like, no, that's not what I need. I need to take this time and fix myself. I just was really tired of, I almost was going to say failing at relationships, but since there's no other way to put it, failing at relationships. However, one thing I am learning is that there is no relationship that's a failure as long as you learn something. So there's that. We're keeping the spirit of that. Right. The other thing is that I've learned that when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And that's a quote by my favorite author, Maya Angelou.
Yes.
And it's just so important to stop expecting them to be something other than who they are. And I've seen that in a way in my relationship. I had created some of my own expectations that weren't necessarily realistic. And that's not a problem with them or the relationship. That was a problem with me. And I had to accept that. And so, but in a lot of ways, when I was hurting, the most surprising of people did step in and help me. And it just really showed me who was really here for my life and who wasn't. And I have a whole different perspective on my friendships and, the relationships I have. That's been a part of the journey. I would say probably the most challenging thing is learning that my soul deserves to be at peace. I don't think that souls are carried to build anger and resentment or sadness for too long. And you're never going to enjoy the moment and be happy if your spirit is so full of negativity and anger. So I had to find a way to let that go. And that starts with forgiveness. So forgiveness begins with you. I know I made a lot of mistakes. I've really dived into like my personality type, and I got a big heart, but it doesn't always come out that way. Like you, I have a quick tongue. That doesn't always help.
Oh, yes.
In these situations. So I kind of, when you, just like you were kind of talking about earlier, like, what did I do? Like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. I had to quiet that voice and just say, you know what? Like, you did do the best you could. And you were always trying to be better. So don't let this stop you from doing that. And that was kind of my way of forgiving myself. But then you have to forgive others. I mean, there are parts of my relationship where I don't think everything was truthful, and I'll leave that part there. But the truth is that no one's perfect. Right. Well, I'll leave that there. But the truth is that no one's perfect, and everyone has their inner demons that we struggle with every day. And just like I'm struggling with something, that doesn't mean my former partner wasn't struggling with things that I didn't know about. And that doesn't make them any more, or it doesn't make them a bad person or anything. It's just that they had a journey too. And so just sort of forgiving the situation from that perspective, saying like, and no one gets into a relationship and wants to hurt somebody, right? Like it just doesn't work out sometimes. So
most of the time, we'll go most of the time. 99%
most of the time, right? So just finding that forgiveness in myself, and even if I don't get quote unquote an apology or the closure I've talked about before, it's you're forgiving the situation and the person for you, so that you can move on and be free. So
yes, you have to forgive. You have to let it go, because all of that anger, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you moving forward. Learn the lessons, but pick yourself up and get through those things, and don't dwell in it, because you'll find out later. It's probably, here's those years of wisdom coming out at you now. But
I love it.
But you're gonna find out that like it was actually a blessing, and it actually went in the right direction and moved you forward, and you're better for it. So there's a saying, when you know better, you do better. So you know better, you do better. What do you know about yourself now that you didn't do before? What's changed?
I figured out that there's different types of attachment, right? And so I've been read a lot of stuff by Amy Chan. She is the breakup expert. Her book, Breakup Bootcamp, is amazing. So if you're going through that right now, get you on Amazon and pick that up. So there's anxious attachment types, secure attachment types, and then avoidant attachment types. So one of the things I kind of figured out myself is that I have a lot of anxiousness when I come to my attachment types. I now realize that it's like the way I connect with people, I can have anxiety about a situation that isn't real. So one of the things I started doing is I've kind of been like, you know what? When I feel a little anxiety, I'm like, is there actually a real threat to me or the situation? No, there's probably not. So calm down, girl. Like, it's like, just starting to realize that that's how I connect with the world. And they say when you react to trauma, people tend to fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a fighter, which I will say in a lot of areas of my life, especially living, the LGBT lifestyle, which can cause, a lot of like conflict and turmoil in terms of getting places you want to go and stuff. Even being Black is the same thing. My reaction to adversity is to fight. But if you're in a relationship, you should not be fighting with someone that's your partner. And not like physical, but like I just get very defensive, and like if something's going wrong, I like put up my shield, and I'm like, I'm ready for battle, and that's not how it should work. So I did learn that about me. And then the last thing is I feel secure when I am the chaser. But if someone actually approaches me, it's so crazy because I have such a big personality. You'd think I'd be totally confident. It literally just happened. I had this very, very, very handsome guy approach me at a show the other day, and I literally was just like, oh, la, la, la. So, and I'm like, well, why is that? Right. So now I know that it's because I'm used to being the hunter and not the hunted. So it's a foreign situation for me. And so if someone is genuinely showing interest, I actually don't know what to do. And now I've had some tools and stuff that I've been using to kind of help me with that. But those were some realizations that really, really helped me understand myself and how I connect with the world.
A lot of situations that we're facing, no matter how challenging, they say there's a silver lining, there's always something. What is your silver lining?
That's a great question. I did an exercise in which I wrote out all of my past relationships, and I did good and bad for those people. I wrote out all of my friends. I did good and bad for those people. And then I wrote out my parents, and I did good and bad for them. And what I realized is that all of my friends are like my mom, and all of my relationships are like my dad.
Ooh.
And before I say what I wrote about my dad, I do want to say one thing, and just bear with me, people, because it will make sense when I'm done. My father always provided for us. We never grew up wanting for anything. And I think that any father that does that deserves a lot of respect. My father is also a Black man and was able to do that for my family. So that is even a harder struggle and deserves even more respect. So when I say these things, I am not discrediting the sacrifice that he made to make sure that myself and my siblings had a good life. With that being said, that was the only thing I could write that was good. everything else involved a lot of emotional unavailability. And then it became clear to me why I get attached to unavailable men is because maybe I'm trying to fix what is broken or what I'm not yet at peace within myself and my relationship with my dad. But where the silver lining comes in is, as I mentioned on your show, I didn't talk to my mom for 10 years. And when I did this exercise, I called her up and I said, I am so sorry that I didn't talk to you for 10 years. I now realize that you were trying to provide love for two parents. And oh my God, I said I wasn't going to cry. I was like, that has to be really hard to have done. And I'm sorry that I didn't realize that before. And she just said, I just want you to know that all is forgiven. And if anything ever happened to me, the only thing I'd want you to know is just that how much I love you. Whew. And so having that moment, having that moment, something from my childhood did get healed. And I'm not going to say that I don't, have more to do, but that was something that got healed that I very much desperately needed. So, like you just said, you're going to look back at this experience and realize that it was a blessing. And I do know that at least that very one thing has been a blessing for me.
That's a huge blessing. And I tell you, as a mom, I can speak to that and say I completely understand it. And all is forgiven. Truly, in a mother's heart, always forgiven. There's a thing that I say to my kids and to my best friends, and it's most. Whenever I sign off, I write XOXO and then I write most. And what most stands for is that mother's kind of love that always and forever, no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. I am always going to love you and be there for you. I'm more than anybody else. So I put most.
I love that. I
still do that with my kids. And so we can get angry as moms and we can have a lot of moments. I have a lot of moments that just really make me crazy, especially when they're adults, because they're really hard to parent when they're adults, because they go, I don't want to talk to my mom. My fingers are broken. I can't call my mom. Right. So we have those moments, but it doesn't matter. Those are instantly the second I do hear from them or we talk or see each other, it's just, I just want to see their face and kiss them and hug them and love on them. So that's just in what a mother does. And I am so glad that you had that moment, because that is so special. Where is your emotion as you're starting to make these phone calls to your mom and doing this reflection? How are you feeling? What is in your heart and your soul at this point?
Just a lot of self-love. I'm so just back in love with the world and with life again. And as soon as I got it together, all types of projects and stuff came in, and I had situations like with my drag career. It's like, why can't I get this opportunity? And what's holding me back? And why don't they look at me? And it's because, maybe I just wasn't allowing myself to just give into what the universe has to offer. And a part of this was really just I broke down. So I had no choice just to try to put myself back together. And once I did, I still feel so much love. I want to put good things out into the world. And I definitely still have work to do, but I'm doing it. And that's what matters. That's where I'm at. I'm in a really, really good spot.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Okay, so we have all these things that have happened. And I know that we had spoken a couple times now since the podcast. And tell me what you mean by reframing a bad situation, and how are you doing that?
Reframing. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you for bringing that up.
I'm on it, girl. I am on it. Yes.
Reframing. Reframing is huge. Oh my goodness, it's huge. Okay, so reframing, you kind of mentioned it before. Does your story serve you? Okay, so we're all going to go through this stuff, and we are going to have bad situations, but life is nothing if not a collage of experiences and situations that are unique to you. So kind of in the same way that two people can read the same book and connect and walk away with completely different things, your past and your story, the good and the bad, it's actually just as versatile. So it's kind of like, this situation sucks and it sucks, but how can I reframe this in my mind to make this the best situation I can be? it can be. So for me, what I did with my relationship is that, you know what? This one didn't work out, but I know more about myself than I ever did before. I learned things about myself that I can take into the next relationship. So this relationship may have been the test run for the real love of my life. And I'm more ready than I ever have been before in life to welcome that into my life when it happens, you know?
Yes.
So I really just want to encourage people that instead of viewing their past as some tragic story, view it as a necessary part of your destiny. There was a time where I felt broken, and it's very easy to start looking at yourself like, oh my goodness, I'm all these broken pieces and I'm not this and I'm not that. But you know what? All the stuff that you've been through creates a wisdom and a depth that you just can't get without living life. And that makes you so valuable to the world.
And I agree with that 1,000%. And it's really important. You know, when you see people with all these things going on, a new book and, you know, show and all these things, there can be a lot of pain underneath that too. And we don't always want to show that to people. So your honesty is amazing and will really help people. So if someone that's listening is struggling with any type of emotional pain, like what would you say to them?
I want to go back to someone I mentioned before, and I just have to credit them for being a big part of my journey. Amy Chan, author of Breakup Bootcamp. She says, our greatest lesson in this lifetime is to practice opening our hearts, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts.
Yes.
So if you're like most people, you know, you find it easy to open up your heart when everything's good and bubbly and rosy, but the real test of a truly open heart comes when you can do it when your heart feels threatened. And one thing I actually realized is that I've actually been doing that my whole life, because I've been knocked down so many times, like as a drag queen, for example, but I kept keeping my heart open so that eventually one day I was like, it's not always going to be this way. It's just hard right now. And if you just keep working hard, I kept my heart open and my mind open and my drive going to accept all the new opportunities in my life. And now I have a lot of great opportunities, and I still want more. But in terms of my relationships and stuff like that, I have to do the same thing. So no matter how difficult it gets, please, 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 snacks, keep your heart open. You do not know what the next day is going to bring.
And then reach out too.
Yes.
You're talking about things that helped you and people that did, you know, reach out and find someone to talk to, or scream at. Like I know I've had friends that have been going through stuff, and I'm like, listen, if you just want to call me on the phone and we can both scream at the top of our lungs, let's do it. Like if we just need to get that out, right? If we're just in pain and things are going wrong, sometimes you just need someone to scream with you. All right. Well, goodness. I got to ask, your show is all about chasing goals and dreams. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's a great question. I want to own my own home. I want to have been on national TV a few times. Hopefully RuPaul's Drag Race. But I'm also open. I'm also open to whatever the universe has for me. You know, that's what we're doing. And we're working on keeping our hearts open and all that stuff. So whatever the universe has. One of the things I think about a relationship, which some people I've dated don't have the same values. I think the basis of a good relationship is a good friendship. So ideally, in 5 years, I would like to be in a loving relationship with my best friend. So those are the things I want to do in 5 years.
I love that. I mean, I seriously really love that. That's that's where it is. And sometimes that person is closer than you think. You know?
Yes.
You know, you sometimes we look too far away and we miss what's right in front of us.
Yes. So if any of my close friends are listening and you have secret feelings, now is the time. Okay.
Yes, please. Well, what's next? What's next in the future? What do you got going on that's coming up?
Oh my goodness. So we talked about it on your show, but I am in a web series coming out very soon. Yeah, real soon, actually. It's called It's Not You, and I play the character Andre, who is the best friend to the main character. We actually, I got to reunite with some of the cast and have pizza. It was like one of my first times out of the house since everything happened, so that was actually super cool, and we're all super excited to see how it turns out. And
all right, I'm coming to the viewing party, so you better invite me.
Yes, on my Instagram right now, and you can follow me. There's actually a few clips, a few like still shots of the movie. The web series, I should say. So that's really exciting. Obviously, I have my book, but due to COVID, I couldn't really do a launch. So I am going to do some type of launch event this summer here in the Twin Cities for A Loitering Heart. And then I can't, unfortunately, I can't say who, but for Twin Cities Pride, I'm going to be on the main stage, hosting and opening for like someone really famous. And I don't know, for those who are familiar with Twin Cities Pride, I'm not talking about the like smaller stage that has a lot of drag, which I have been on that stage and it's fabulous. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm going to be on the big stage. So I'm super excited for that. Please stay tuned because when I got the call, I was like, huh? You all want me to do? Oh, okay. So, but
I was expecting your call. Thank you very much.
I know it was so unexpected. I thought they were just going to ask me to host a show on like the smaller stage where they have drag, and which I'm more than excited about. Like I love prides, and I get super excited to do festivals because it's all good energy and everyone just wants to have fun. So I love it. But when I got this call, I said, no, baby, this is it. So, related to that, it's actually part of an initiative to create an entertainment organization that focuses on queer people of color. So I've actually am in some meetings like trying to get this organization set up. So please stay tuned to my social media for that. We're going to need a lot of support, but I do think that there should be more space for queer creatives of color to shine and do their thing. So I'm excited to be involved in that. But of course, the most important thing is continuing my mental health journey and continuing to keep my heart open for love. So that's number one.
Well, I want you to promise me something.
Yes.
I want you to promise that you are going to keep me and all of the listeners here, everyone included, and just keep us updated and let us know how it's going, because even if you have struggles that are coming up, share those because you'll feel better. And if you have joyful moments, share those as well. You don't have to do it on the podcast. You could do it on social media or wherever you feel most comfortable, but share that journey because we all want to take it with you. We all want to be a part of it and support you. And so please let us come along for the ride.
You know what we're going to do? We'll figure out our schedules, but maybe we'll do like a 6-month, 1-year check-in. We'll have a little reunion episode on the snacks. And so everyone can know how you're doing. We can check in on what I'm doing. It'll be great. I will make that promise right now.
I will bring extra snacks for that one. Yes.
Tell us what's coming up for you and tell my listeners where we can follow you on social media. I know everybody is probably falling in love with you just as I have. So where can they find you and what's going on with Clever Conversations?
Well, I am always at the Clever Biotch, so you can find me on all of the socials there. Coming up for me, I have a mini series that I'm doing, which is all about women's health and how we don't take care of ourselves and we forget about things. And so that's going to be, we're going to be talking. I've been going through a lot of medical things. I have some stuff coming up this week, which I hope so give me some positive vibes this week for good results.
All of them.
I don't want any negative. I don't want any bad results from this test. And then I got invited to go to LA Fashion Week.
Ooh.
This fall. Oh yes, I'm excited. So I'm going to be podcasting.
I'm jealous. Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Right? I know. Who knows? Podcasting has opened a world of opportunity to me. I mean, it's been phenomenal, and I get to meet such wonderful people and be on their podcast, which is so much fun too. I've loved meeting you. I've loved meeting these people, and it's opened up a lot of doors for me to do all these great things. So I'm excited.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I cannot tell you from the bottom of my heart how much this means to me. Like it was great. Thank you for coming in and helping me share that with my listeners.
Thank you so much. And thanks to the listeners for having me. I appreciate all of you. And I know we want to come along on this ride on your journey. So we know you're going to be phenomenal.
Thank you. All right, Snacks, please follow both of us on social media. And until next time, go be fabulous. Hey, Snack, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you or someone you know is suicidal or in emotional distress, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Trained crisis workers are available to talk to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Your confidential and toll-free call goes to the nearest crisis center in the Lifeline National Network. These centers provide crisis counseling and mental health referrals. You can call 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And remember, it's never the wrong time to ask for help. Until next time, see you later, snack.